Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into the channel. Picture this, the sharp crack of a rifle rings out, and a macaque monkey tumbles to the ground. Scenes like this play out all too often in rural Japan, where local farmers team up with hunters to tackle the exploding population of these pesky primates that wreak havoc on their livelihoods. These clever critters raid fields and orchards, racking up billions in crop losses every year. To fight back, folks rely on tried-and-true tactics like rifle hunts and sturdy metal traps. Just last year, in 2023, over 18,000 macaques were culled as part of these efforts. Hit that subscribe button to join us as we dive deeper into this wild story. Believe it or not, Japan's macaque population has exploded since the late 1980s, turning these clever monkeys into a real headache for locals. As cities sprawl and forests get cleared out at a rapid pace, while macaques are getting squeezed closer to human neighborhoods. The result? They're raiding farms and wiping out crops, hitting hardworking farmers right in the wall. And it's not just agriculture. Bold macaques have even started charging at beachgoers, scaring off tourists. Last year alone, in 2023, more than 85 folks got hurt in these encounters, with plenty of women suffering deep scratches that required serious medical attention. That's why wildlife officials in Japan have turned to hunting as a key strategy to keep the macaque numbers in check and prevent further chaos. Skilled hunters typically head into the forested hillsides that border rural areas, focusing their efforts on protecting communities and easing the tension between people and these increasingly bold primates. Hunters lure macaques into traps using tempting baits like bananas, apples, or corn, then hunker down in camouflage blinds to wait for the troop to show up. When the monkeys get close, plenty of folks skip the rifles and go for crossbows instead. It's quieter that way, so you don't spook the whole group and blow the hunt. On a regular day in the field, your average hunter might snag 4 or 5 macaques. But the real pros with years under their belts can pull in 8 or 9 when things go right. These full-grown beasts pack about 60 pounds and can stretch up to 4 feet tall, turning any attempt to wrangle them into a tough, risky job. That's why, in those sprawling wilderness areas, a lot of hunters stick with rifles to handle bigger packs safely. That's the wild ride of how monkey populations have boomed and evolved over time. What are your thoughts on this whole monkey surge? If a similar explosion hit your neck of the woods, what approach would you back to handle it? Drop a comment below and share your take. We'd love to hear from you. And hey, if you enjoyed this, hit that subscribe button to catch more stories like it. Thanks a ton for tuning in. To tackle the growing issue of black bear encounters in urban and rural areas, the Japanese government has turned to cutting-edge technology. Black bears naturally fear wolves,
ensuring a silent
predators,
and strategic
which often
approach.
prey on bear cubs or weaker individuals. Capitalizing on this instinct, Japan has deployed wolf-shaped robots to keep bears at bay. These lifelike machines patrol the edges of towns and cities, effectively deterring bears from wandering into populated areas. As a result, bear intrusions have dropped significantly, safeguarding crops, reducing property damage, and making bear attacks on humans increasingly rare, all while boosting community safety. In rural regions, some farmers have taken a more drastic approach, using traditional methods like bows and arrows to hunt black bears. This practice has slashed the black bear population from an estimated 950,000 to just 50,000, easing threats to local communities and improving living conditions. However, This aggressive tactic has sparked ethical debates. Many critics argue that hunting bears disrupts ecosystems and threatens wildlife balance, pushing for more humane and sustainable solutions to coexist with these animals. To effectively manage bear populations, hunters deploy large bait boxes packed with irresistible treats like savory sauces, sweet pastries, and cooking oil to lure black bears. These sturdy containers shield the bait from birds and harsh sunlight, ensuring it remains potent and appealing. Skilled hunters meticulously study bear tracks to devise strategic plans, often attracting 5 to 6 bears, each weighing around 400 pounds per setup. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Leopard channel. Picture this, a peaceful morning shattered by a blaring alarm ripping through the calm. In an instant, Nick and his crew snapped into high gear, grabbing their gear and charging out to the fields. No need for words, just sharp glances and the thud of boots racing toward them. What they found was a trail of chaos. Fresh footprints carved deep into the soil and crops battered by some unknown force. Can they track down this menace with forged tracks again? Stick around, because what's coming is an all-out show. As dawn barely broke over the misty Italian wetlands, the world stood still, holding its breath for the battle about to erupt. The silence of the forest was broken only by the soft tread of careful footsteps, each one tracing the faint trail left by their quarry. After 15 minutes of relentless pursuit, a sudden gunshot shattered the stillness, signaling the start of the day's hunt. The wild boar thrashed in a frantic bid for freedom, but Nick's quick reflexes and unyielding grip ensured its defeat. With skill and precision, he claimed the first trophy of the morning. Moving forward, the group reached the field's edge, where the boar's well-worn path lay in plain sight. As Nick scanned the dense thicket ahead, a massive shadow erupted from the underbrush, charging into the open with reckless fury. But Nick was ready. In a heartbeat, his rifle cracked, and the beast collapsed, snapping its tracks by the steady hand of an expert hunter. Another danger was swiftly ended, leaving the field quiet once more. Before he could check his gear, a sharp, familiar grunt echoed from the field, just a few hundred yards out. Nick didn't hesitate. He tore toward the sound, each step fueled by urgency, his eyes darting across the terrain with razor-sharp focus. Skidding to a stop, he raised his rifle just as a massive wild boar lumbered into view, right in his crosshairs. The shot cracked through the air, clean and cold, dropping the beast in an instant. It crumpled to the ground, defeated by his steady hand. Across the field, James was locked in his own high-stakes hunt. His gaze swept an open clearing just as a wild boar burst from the brush, charging with reckless abandon as if spurred by some hidden panic. James didn't flinch. His finger tightened on the trigger, and the rifle's sharp report cut through the flames. The boar stumbled, collapsing onto the brittle grass. With one threat down, James braced for the next, ready for whatever the field would throw his way. The hunt was far from finished. The crew hustled over to Nick's family orchard, slipping in without a whisper. They melted into the shadows, guns at the ready, hearts pounding in the silence. For a grueling 20 minutes, the scorching sun beat down, pushing their patience to the brink. Then, in a flash, Nick's chance arrived. With one crack of his rifle, he slammed the door on the boar's every possible getaway, dropping it cold. What did you make of that killer shot? Hit me up in the comments with your take. Undeterred, the hunters pushed forward, step by determined step, even as the skies opened up and rain poured down. Nick and his team didn't miss a beat, their concentration laser-focused despite the sheets of water blurring their sight. Out of nowhere, a wild boar exploded across their trail, but was no match for Nick's eagle eyes. His shot echoed true, nailing the beast square on, a perfect takedown that stopped those deadly tusks from tearing up the lush fields. High on a rugged hillside thick with tangled brush, the hunting team fanned out, locking the area in a tight formation. From a key vantage point, the sharpshooter caught the dark outline of a wild boar slipping from the tree line. In a split second, his rifle cracked, shots slicing through the air. The clean leaper who's tangled with wild boars all over the world. I can tell you nothing beats the thrill of fall in Europe. Picture this. Under those stunning golden canopies in the woods, these huge beasts are on a prowl, tearing up crops and putting local farmers in a real bind. That's why my crew and I are suited up and ready to roll, tackling this escalating issue head-on to keep things in check.
Instincts demand absolute precision. Every shot, every step.
These wild boars are way more than just pests. They're devastating whole fields and threatening folks' way of life out in the countryside. No wonder more areas are turning to smart, targeted hunts to safeguard our food sources and support rural communities. If you're into authentic tales of hunting and wildlife management, smash that subscribe button and stick with us right here at Leopard Farm.